Hi everybody. This is a quick demonstration of some of the new features that we've added to Blawx, specifically in dealing with sections of text smaller than a full numbered section, and also changes in how our answers are displayed to the user. So what we're going to do is we're going to re-implement the bird act. We're going to create the new bird act. And section 1 of the new bird act reads, penguins are birds. Section 2 reads, if a thing is a bird, it flies, unless it is a penguin. So one of the issues that we had with the previous version is that we could do defaults and exceptions, but only when they occurred in different numbered section. Here we've got a default and an exception to that default that both appear in section 2. So what we've done is we've added a feature where you can name spans of text. So we're going to call this span penguin, and we're just going to put curly brackets around the phrase unless it is a penguin. Now we can save that, and when we go into our rule and in the code editor, you will see that the interface now gives you section 1 that can be selected, section 2 that can be selected, and also the phrase unless it is a penguin has its own selector here. You can also go into known sections, and you can see that we have section 1, section 2, and section 2.penguin. And these can be nested as deeply as you need. So that's how we've solved that problem. So let's start our encoding here. Penguins are birds. So we're going to say we know that bird is a category, and we know that penguin is a category, and we know that if something is a penguin, it is also a bird. So a penguin is a bird. So that's section 1. Now we can go to section 2. If a thing is a bird, it flies. So we need to give ourselves some more vocabulary here. We're going to say thing is a category, and we are going to say a thing has the attribute flies, which is a true or false value. And if we save that, we can see in the known attributes we've got this, but we don't like the text. Blanks flies is blank, doesn't read very well. So we are going to grab this customization block, and we're going to say it is true or false that object flies. That's how we would like it to read. Save that, and you can see now we've got a much more readable block. So now we've got our vocabulary. We can go and make the rule, which is if a thing is a bird, it flies. So we're going to grab this version of the rule block, which has the built-in according to New Bird Act section 2. And we're going to say when we know that something, and we'll just call it A, is in the category bird, then we also know that according to NBA section 2, it is true that this thing called A flies. And that's it. There's section 1 encoded. So we will save that, and we'll go back, and now we need to encode our exception. So we are going to say, we need to say unless it is a penguin. So what we need to encode is if a thing is a penguin, it does not fly. So we are going to grab this block, and you can use the preloaded ones, or you can grab from known sections over here. We are going to say it is false that A flies. If A is a penguin. So that's good, but it's not quite enough, because we also need to explain what happens when section 2 contradicts section 2.penguin. So we are going to say, we know that 2.penguin overrules section 2. And basically this is how we encode the idea of unless, the idea that this is an exception to the default. And that's it. We've encoded the new Bird Act. Now that we have our encoding, we can go and we can create some tests. So let's create a test called Tweety, and let's create a penguin named Tweety. Tweety is a penguin. That's our fact scenario. Now we want to know if it holds that Tweety does or does not fly. So we're going to say it is blank that Tweety flies, and we're going to fill in our blank with a variable, which is just asking Blawx to tell us, are there any values that you can fit into this statement that hold? We can open up our results and click run, and you can see there is one answer, and we've reorganized the way that answers are displayed. Now it's organized by answer, and under each answer there is a list of bindings that are assigned to variable names. So you use the variable a in your question. In this answer, the value of a is false. So in this answer, it holds that it is false that Tweety flies. And then for each answer, you can see any number of explanations. And if there's more than one explanation, Blawx will show you all of them. If we open up the explanation, you can see the explanation is now being displayed as a collapsible tree. It legally holds that it is false that Tweety flies because, according to section 2, span penguin, it is false that Tweety flies because Tweety is a penguin. And there's no evidence that this section has been defeated. So you can see we have the collapsible tree for the explanation. Inside the explanation, where a section of the rules has been referred to, it is highlighted, and if you hover over that, you get the text of the relevant section of legislation. So I hover over here and I can see the text of section 2 span penguin is unless it is a penguin. So you've got an answer, you've got an explanation for that answer, and that explanation is tied back to the original legislative text. Then let's try another example. Let's save this and let's go create a new test. Let's say we know that Tweety doesn't fly, but we want to know why not. So we're going to go in and we're going to create the same facts again, just there's a penguin named Tweety. And now what we're going to ask is the negated question. We're going to say, we know it's not true that Tweety flies. So we're going to say true that Tweety flies. What we're interested in is why. So when we ask this question, the answer is yes. We know that the answer is yes. But why is it yes? What are the explanations for the fact that this isn't true? We can save this and we can click run, and you can see that there is only one answer because we knew it was true. There's no bindings because we didn't use any variables, but there are 3 different explanations, and that has to do with the way that that Blawx does the reasoning around the rules. There's lots of different ways for things to not be true. The one we're particularly interested in is explanation number 3, because this is the one that includes the defeasibility. So it says, there's no evidence that it legally holds that it is true that Tweety flies because, according to section 2, and we can see the text, it's true that Tweety flies because, according to section 2, Tweety is a bird because Tweety is a penguin. But the conclusion in section 2 is defeated because it's refuted because, according to section 2 span penguin, it is false. And those 2 conclusions oppose each other, and the conclusion in section 2 span penguin overrules. And why did this conclude it's false? It concluded that it's false because Tweety is a penguin, which was already mentioned above. So you can see we've got the responses from the reasoner are divided out into answers. The answers include bindings for specific variables. Each answer also includes a list of possible explanations. Each explanation is now a collapsible tree that you can drill down as far into as you would like. And where sections of legislation are mentioned in that tree, they can be turned into links and will display the text that was used to generate that rule in the code. So explainable answers tied back to the original legislative source with a relatively easy way of translating from rules into code. Thanks very much.